The Elsa Kurt Show with Clay Novak. Serving up trending news and conservative views. Brought to you by the Elsa Kurt Collection. And Refuge Medical. And now, it's time for the show.
It's another week, another fun batch, huge batch of topics. So I'm not going to be long-winded for once. Just, hey, how you doing, Clay?
I'm good. And we do have a ton of stuff to talk about. And you know what? None of it, believe it or not, is Doge. None of it. And there's still, well, I don't think we're going to get to all our topics. And we're not even touching Doge this week. So let's get to it right after this. Hey folks, Clay Novak here, author of the novel Keep Moving, Keep Shooting. So what I've got here is the Boo Boo 2.0 basic first aid kit. This is the one that you throw in your glove box, throw in the trunk of your car, keep in the house. It's got your Band-Aids, antiseptic wipes, those kinds of things for scrapes and cuts, and some more significant. There is a tourniquet in here. But Boo Boo 2.0, this is the kit that you need all the time. Again, refugemedical.com. You can find it there. Definitely a useful kit. Use the discount code KMKS at checkout. Get yourself 10% off. Refuge Medical, not only buy their equipment, but get their training. Refuge Medical offers training as well. Keep moving, keep shooting.
Spring is knocking. Ready to refresh your vibe? The Elsa Kurt Collection has everything from page-turning reads to eye-catching fashion, guaranteed to add a little sunshine to your season. Calling all statement makers, Elsa's pieces are designed to turn heads and bring confidence to your closet. But that's not all. Love a good book? Elsa's got your next favorite read waiting just for you. Don't miss Elsa's Amazon affiliate store, filled with hand-picked beauty treasures, home must-haves, and daily essentials. It's like a personal shopping spree made easy. Make this spring your season. Shop the Elsa Kurt Collection today and let the fun begin.
Hey, so, I'm glancing down our list of topics. I was going to start counting them, and then I was just reading each one of our headlines, and I realized that they all have one very important thing in common. Do you have any idea what it is? They all trigger the left. Every single one of them sends the left into a hysterical, foaming at the mouth frenzy. Not that, everything sets them off, right? I mean, everything does.
It does. And that's kind of the world we're living in right now. And, that's where, because that's what the media is doing. I mean, we've been over this a million times, everything is how and we're going to talk some mainstream media kind of stuff in the show, but it's the dog whistle. Whatever the mainstream media is upset about is what gets covered. And that's what sets people into a frenzy.
Right. And of course, it always starts with that guy's name, President Trump. And I love, I make a point, I know over the years we simplify and we just say Trump, Trump this, Trump that. I especially love these days since January 20th. I love emphasizing President Trump because I see him twitch, every time I see the eye go.
So I when I write in my blogs, I'm very traditionally, I will make sure, no matter who it is, whether I like him or not, honor the office, honor the title. But that trend started with President Bush, second President Bush. And it was post 9/11 as the war started to turn, people weren't necessarily in support of Iraq. It wasn't Afghanistan, it was Iraq.
Right.
And it was notably ABC and George Snuffleupagus who started calling him Bush.
Interesting.
Or W instead of President Bush. That's where it all started, and that's where it started to go downhill. Before that, if you go back and watch any old school media, it was very respectful of the office, whether they agreed or not. But it was post 9/11 and early days of Iraq when ABC started to turn, with their primary, Democrat agent of George Snuffleupagus.
Snuffleupagus. I love that. It makes me laugh every time. Oh, okay. So Trump had some big meetings. I mean, when does he not have big meetings? But of course, with little teeny tiny Macron, and of course with Putin too. And big meetings. Those were big. Macron came to him, so that was. I mean, that's not a surprise, but
that was
came to him.
a last week. I think Friday or Saturday.
Yeah. He
just called him and said, "Hey, I need you to come to Washington." And Macron picked up and came because that's what happens now.
Yeah.
They respond. And so he came to talk about Europe and Russia, Ukraine. And, I'm not saying that Macron speaks for all of Europe, the EU, but, there's been a flip in Germany. They had their elections last week and they went conservative. and so I think Macron is probably the loudest and longest standing voice to come and speak to President Trump. They did their little handshake thing, where they
their little game. Yep.
Which is always entertaining. But
is.
that also, and you were talking about this earlier, the media, did you see what they keyed in on from that?
I didn't. I missed it. What did they key in on?
So President Trump, and this is the second time that they've brought this up. I just saw this today. So he has a bruise on the back of his right hand. And everybody was like, oh, his health and so he said it then. And I think the last time they talked about this was a few months ago. It was during the campaign. And then they said it again. It's from shaking hands, because he shakes hands with hundreds of people every single day. And it's always it's the handshake, but the grip, it's the shake and the double-handed handshake.
Yeah.
And it bruises the back of his hand. But that's what the media keyed in on. They keyed in on
not that he's, negotiating peace around the world.
Yes.
Never mind that. Don't worry about that. If it didn't make me laugh, it would make me crazy, right? So you got to pick one or the other. So we'll let them be crazy. We'll just shake our head and laugh. But yeah, so they met, of course, talk about the conflict in Ukraine, making peace, all that kind of stuff. And, of course, they have different perspectives on it. Macron, he stated his opinions on it, and Trump and the Trump administration is being pretty firm on moving towards. And I think Pete Hegseth made some really great statements about that, about where their focus is and not, because they want to place the blame, they want to make sure that they get it out there, right? That Russia started it, Russia did it, Russia invaded, Russia. And I think it was Hegseth who basically said, listen, we're not going to go there. We're working on peace. We're working on resolution, not creating more conflict, and playing that game, doing that tit for tat and back and forth is not going to bring anybody closer to some peaceful resolution here. So, talk about being diplomatic and working with these other countries. But of course, if you're on the left, that's bad.
Yeah, President Trump, this is one of the things that he kept saying during his candidacy, during the campaign, was that, people kept pressing him about Israel-Palestine. They kept pressing him about Russia-Ukraine, and he kept saying the same thing. His response was very blunt, but it was always very consistent. And that was, I want the killing to stop. That's what he kept saying, and that's what he's doing. And I wrote a blog about this today, and the problem is that he doesn't care who wins, who gets the credit. Or you said it. It's to make sure everybody knows Russia started it. Nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
And because ending the killing is the goal. That's the goal. And that should be
nobody with that in mind cares. Like nobody whose goal is to put an end to it cares. The only people who care are the ones that want to keep the conflict going.
That's right. That's right. It's the war hawks that want this. And truthfully, most of those people have never seen war. They don't know war. They don't understand war. And truthfully, they have nothing at stake except, their principles. And that's it. So, unless you're willing to give your son, your daughter, anybody else to go fight the war, then really your principles stand on nothing. I hate to say it. If you're not willing to put in that sacrifice yourself, then your opinion to me matters very, very little, especially if you've never been there yourself. So it's the war hawks out there, and the Israel-Palestine conflict, Israel-Hamas, I'm not saying Palestine, Israel-Hamas conflict is the same thing. I know, and you probably do too, some Jewish Americans who either went back to Israel, put on their IDF uniform, or they were in Israel and said, I could leave, and decided not to, and they stayed. But the American Jewish community has a vested interest in this personally. They have family members that are involved or have gone on, of their own accord. I voice your opinion all you want, because you're in the middle of it, more so than most. But all these university students, Free Palestine and all this other crap, shut up. They're just war hawking with no relevant experience and no relevant perspective.
Right.
But that's what President Trump's trying to stop, is the killing. He doesn't care about winners and losers. He just wants the dying to stop. And that's what we should all be hoping for.
Yeah. I mean, it's baffling, isn't it, Clay? It's like who in their right mind would be against that, would have a problem with that and look for a problem with that. It's beyond comprehension. And again, the test for that, the test for the truth of that statement is when you turn it around and say, okay, if it were Biden doing the exact same thing, what would your response be? What would your reaction be? And of course, they're not going to be honest, because that's not part of the game. But the honest response, were they to give it, would be, oh, well, then that would be fine. Well, that would be great. We'd be all for it. It's always going to be about who is the one, right? And if it's Trump, you know what their reaction is going to be. It's so predictable. Like it's hard to, it's always made me so angry in the past leading up to and it still makes me angry to a degree, but just so much less because it's so predictable. It's so predictable. Like, give me a break. We already know what your reaction is going to be. And I think that's the Trump administration attitude also, like cry, our new favorite, cry harder,
Harder. Yeah.
Cry harder. Unless you can, legally stop us, which of course they're trying to do, then we're just going to keep plowing forward, right? And speaking of, that was the most I want props. That was a brilliant segue.
That was probably your best one ever.
It was accidental. Can everybody just pat me?
That was good.
I ruined it by doing that, but whatever. It's okay.
No, it's okay. No, okay. But you're right, and that's the recourse now is appointed, not elected, but appointed judges at lower court levels are the ones who are stepping in. They're not necessarily interpreting the law, but they're activists in most cases that believe they're doing the right thing, and they're stepping in and they're filing, they're either opposing, putting a stop to whatever it is that President Trump is doing, and then they're forcing an appeal process, and they're just delaying the inevitable. But they're putting an unnecessary strain on on the judicial system because they're generating more work unnecessarily. Now, I don't necessarily agree with the reaction that's coming out of Congress, which is there's a lot of Congress people who are looking for impeachment processes for some of these lower court judges. If they are acting within the law, don't, whether you agree with the process or not, fix the process. But I don't agree with, he's acting legally, he's acting within the process, he's not doing anything illegal, or she for that matter, but we don't agree with what they're doing or how they're doing it, so we're going to start impeachment process. That's ridiculous.
Right. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, you know me well enough to know that I'll jump right on that and impeach them all, get rid of them. But yes, if I put my big girl pants on, I can acknowledge that, yes, if what they are doing is within the scope of their legal abilities, then yes, I feel like, there should be something. I mean, I think they all get investigated no matter what, if not by, Congress or whoever, certainly by the, social media, the people on the internet, right? Because within a hot minute, exactly who their affiliations are, who their wife works for, and where their donations come from. And all of the things very quickly, which of course casts some doubt on their, casts a lot of doubt on their ethic abilities there.
You're 100% right, because what happens is as soon as you have one of these judges, even if they're acting within the limits of the law, as soon as they do something like this, the spotlight's on them. And the internet's going to do what the internet does, right? Everybody sleuths, they investigate, they dig in, and then you better hope, if you're one of these judges, that you are squeaky clean to 100%, because if not, it's going to be found out. Whatever it is that you've done wrong is going to be found out. And then that's when you start having legitimate questions, and you start potentially even having legitimate impeachment processes, not necessarily for what they have done to, kind of slow down President Trump's, inertia that he's got moving. But, it'll be something in their past. It'll be, hey, this series of decisions are all suspect. Like, that's something that somebody needs to look into. Or like you said, donations or whatever it is. Everything's going to get checked out, and you better hope you're clean.
Yeah. There's one, whose wife, and I forget who it is, might be the Rhode Island guy, I'm not sure, but judge, I should say. It was that the wife was either worked for USAID or right. Yeah. So, I mean, it at the very least, it raises eyebrows. And I think, very consistently with the public, what is happening now is that sense of frustration, obviously, but almost you kind of get to this point, and I see this on social media, particularly on X, like this, almost like apathy starts to set in. They're like, yeah, whatever, yeah, we know, but nothing ever happens, and I find it interesting how quickly people can turn, and we know this well, of course, that they turn on a dime. But even people within the Republican Party or conservatives, however you want to label yourself, I see it on X. It's like people who have been highly, highly supportive, like have the word MAGA in their username or in their name, and who are now, making like little swipes and stuff like, well, this isn't happening fast enough. Thought you said you're going to do this, but dude, he's been in for like 5 weeks. You were just like 3 posts ago talking about how much they've accomplished in short order, and they're getting mad. I see people getting all ticked off that, Pam Bondi and Kristi Noem and Hegseth and, all of them are getting a lot of airtime on lots of different media programs. They're on Fox doing a sit down, they're on this one doing a sit down, and people are like, well, you should be doing your job and not doing all these interviews. It's not a popularity tour or whatever, whatever they're calling. It's like, how do you want them to get this information to us? How much do you want Caroline Leavitt to do? Like, do you want her just to stand behind the podium 24 hours a day and tell you everything? I mean, what do you want, people? Just calm down.
That's interesting. So we're all a product of our environment, and going back to, Headline News is the one who really, really, kind of turned the table on this. They were the one that was the 24-hour news source, right? And it was in, 30-minute bites or 10-minute bites. They were the one who really, I hate to say, crushed the American attention span, but that's all where it started. So you had CNN, which was 24-hour news, and then they brought in Headline News, and it was, was the cycle, and it was the ticker at the bottom. And you had, you actually, at one point, I think they had a news ticker, a sports ticker, and a financial ticker all running at the same time. But, people, that's what they expect now. Everybody expects 24-hour news. They expect 24, do you think that there will come a day where we will have like 2 or 3 press secretaries that run shifts? You know what I mean? Like 3 press briefings a day.
Yeah. Yeah. I tell you, it wouldn't surprise me in the least. It wouldn't surprise me because, people, I mean, everything you just said, I don't even have to reiterate everything you just said. Everything you just said is so accurate and such a great depiction of where we're at, where our brains are at, that short attention span, that need for constant, it's like that dopamine hit. Of news, negative news, whatever the news is, mostly negative, combative stuff. It's the dopamine hit that people get from that over and over again. And of course they know that, they've studied this, and this is why you have 24-hour news. And it's really just a repeat of the same things over and over and over again. There's nothing dramatically new. It's just the constant repeat, but people get that in their brains, and they can't function without, I don't know, knowing what President Trump had for lunch today. It's like crazy, and very, very mentally unhealthy. And I know a few people who have that running in the background of their lives constantly. Like the news is always on. It's like, dude, go outside, touch grass. And
listen, you and I do this once a week. I know you do prep. I know I do prep. I blog a couple times a week. You're constantly doing political commentary stuff, right? This is what you and I do.
Yeah.
And this is not my life.
Right.
Like, you have to take a break from this stuff for your own mental well-being. But the networks, I'm going to best you on your transition. The networks are reacting to ratings. And when the ratings suck, there are repercussions, right?
Yes.
So Joy Reid, for those of you that aren't tracking, and I think everybody's tracking, Joy Reid got fired from MSNBC because why? Her ratings suck. And why do her ratings suck? Because all she does is bash President Trump and the Republican conservative side of things, which crushed the election. Like, if you don't change your programming, no one's gonna watch it, and she didn't, and now she's out of a job.
Out of a job, and what does she do? She cries about it.
I'm sorry. That what I was doing had value.
Had value.
Yeah. if it had value, people would watch it.
Right.
And people are not watching it. Did you see Rachel Maddow?
Yes.
So
yes.
she
On the
herself,
same, I don't, just in case somebody doesn't know, on the same network.
same network. Yep. And
Came out in support of her friend Joy.
She did. Yeah. She came out and she, basically told MSNBC that they were making a huge mistake, that she respected nobody more and, cared about nobody more in the business than Joy Reid. And, she said the same thing, of value. Like Joy Reid was of value. She also, played the guilty white person race card and said, the fact that they kept her and Jen Psaki is the only, two people, two hosts, on a solo show, and they both happen to be white, was a mistake. Whatever. The news networks are figuring out again that this is a business, and if the ratings don't support it, you're done. Listen, I've said this before. Gutfeld to me is not a great show. People love it. It's the highest rated show. It beats all the nightly entertainment post news, shows. All it's number one in the ratings, and it stays on.
Yeah. I tell you what, I'm gonna tell you and everyone watching and listening something that might be shocking. I've never watched a single one of these shows. I have never watched. I can't even name for you one news show that I have watched for more than a clip, a necessary clip. And it kind of goes back to what we were saying before about, this is what we do for a living. This is our job. This is what we do. But we also have a life. And I don't want to be sucked into the vortex of this negativity. Like I was telling you, the person that I know that watches it has it in the background 24/7. I'm not that person. I take as much, I consume as much as I need to be able to talk about the things that I need to talk about and know the things that I need to know. And that's it. I couldn't, I go on X and all of these, people who are apparently a big deal in our field. I don't know who they are. No idea. No clue whatsoever. And I make no apologies for it. I am actually gleefully saying that because it's I live a very peaceful, happy life. And I'm not going to trade that for anything, Yeah.
I do a little more interacting than you do. I know that you on your social media your interaction is pretty low, and good for you for controlling that. I do, interact with folks, when I blog and I get some negative reactions and some of them are pretty visceral and okay. And I'll interact. I'll do a little bit of back and forth, but when I'm done with you, I just stop. Yeah. And I stop, and I've had people come back and be like, oh, you don't have anything else to say. Oh, clearly, I'm right. No, it's because I'm tired of listening to you.
I'm just done with you. Yeah. I just actually have a life and you don't matter. You are not as relevant to me as you think you are. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not sitting here entertaining discussions with, 600 or 700 people at a time. Like I'm out, like I got to take the trash out. I got to go like I have a life.
Yeah. I've had people get, make kind of angry comments like, oh, she doesn't talk to anybody, or she doesn't respond to any comments, which I do actually. I respond to, anywhere from 10 to 20 comments. I mean, that's like, I don't know if I had to give an average, that would be my average per post. That's what I aim for. I try to engage. There are definitely posts where I don't, but I don't know what to tell you. I have, I have like 5 platforms that I post to daily, multiple times a day. And and I'm so blessed and humbled and grateful that they have high engagement and people are commenting and arguing with each other in there and all of that. There will be no time to make content if that's all I'm doing. I can't do it. And I need to protect my mental health too, because like you said, people, love to come in with the negative comments and say some pretty hostile, non-nice things. And it's fine. It doesn't hurt my feelings. It actually helps me because any engagement in a post is positive as far as the algorithm is concerned. You know what I mean? So I'm like, comment away. Tell me how much you hate me, whatever, but I'm not going to engage with you. I don't have any need or desire to do that. But yeah, I just took us so far off the path.
No, not at all. But like, Lester Holt saw the writing on the wall. He knew because of who he is. And he's a Chicago guy. I mean, I grew up with Lester Holt on the news. And he has walked away from NBC, resigned. Because he knew that he can't and won't change, his approach to things.
Right.
and his ratings are terrible. And truthfully, he was probably going to get fired anyway. So
yeah, good on him, smart on him.
Yeah.
And I'll even say, I'll give credit to Rachel Maddow for, I don't like her or agree with her or any of those things, but I give her lots of credit for standing up for what she believed there and who she believed in, and putting herself potentially at risk. I give her credit for that.
Especially if you look, so I think it was about 5 years ago she signed that massive contract. Maybe it wasn't even that long ago. And then she was on for about a year, and then she took like a whole year hiatus, which was in her contract, and they had all these guest hosts, which didn't work out well. And now her show is down to 1 day a week. She was a 5 day a week show. She's down to 1 day a week. And so truthfully, she's not safe either.
Right. No, I don't think she is at all. And maybe she knows that too and didn't care. So she's like, I know I'm next on the chopping block. So what do I care? Yeah.
There's a lot of that going around over there. And again, their ratings are abysmal, and it's a business. Yeah. So if you don't get on board and you don't make yourself palatable, you don't even have to have an appeal. But if you're not even palatable by 60% of the viewing audience, you're done. Like, there's too much out there.
But even, and I say this a little cheekily because, I know people are going to come in and say there's no such thing as this, but I think even the moderate left, the people who maybe wouldn't identify themselves as being on the left, maybe just simply liberal, they even can't take that constant high level anger and hostility and negativity, because that is all it is. It's just such a constant barrage of hate and anger. And I think even they're like, you know what? I can't. I got to go touch grass, Yeah,
and so you can see it in the reaction to politicians, and we'll do another transition, right? So good. Wisconsin is prime example. You and I have talked about this, and it's not just us, folks. Listen, there have been a number of people, high-level people in the Democrat Party who have said, we have got to change what we're doing, otherwise we're going to keep losing, right?
Right.
But they don't. And so you've got, like, a prime example, the governor of Wisconsin has decided that they're going to remove the word mother from all legal documentation within the state. And what is it? Inseminated person?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I got a graphic. I think we can keep talking while we got the graphic up here. So these are the proposed word changes, name changes. What we have there, of course, the the inseminated person instead of mother. That would make a really cute Mother's Day card, right? Happy Inseminated Person's Day, inseminated person. Thanks for getting inseminated. I mean.
Hallmark is jumping on that. They are. They have to. But so again, trying to erase any bit of common sense or tradition or any sense of normalcy, and then to double down. I mean, I think he kind of doubled down on it. Like, well, no, this is this is the way we're going. This is what we're doing. And of course, there's quite a few other liberal states, liberal governors that are doing the same type of doubling down on all of this stuff, and it's like, good, do it. So
awesome.
So Gretchen Whitmer is one. So that just, if you saw it or not. So the Supreme Court, of the United States, the SCOTUS has said gay marriage is legal, blah blah blah. Right? We're not going to stand in the way of gay couples and their pursuit of happiness. Okay, fine. Right now, the state of Michigan and their legislature are forwarding a bill where they say, in the state of Michigan, no. Right? Wow. Okay. So the voters, right? This is the voters are saying this. And they're expecting the bill to pass. And the governor, Gretchen Whitmer, has said, absolutely not. I don't care what the voters say.
Wow.
And I'm trying to figure out when somewhere along the way, our elected officials are now ignoring the
will of the people.
The will of the people that put them in office. Like,
it's just
they don't get
wild. They don't care, and they don't care. They don't care. They're just throwing it right out there in the open. They want to be, mini dictators in their states, and I don't blame them, because they've gotten away with that for a while. They've gotten away with it. So, now they actually believe, I think they sincerely believe that this is what they're entitled to do. And, it is the responsibility of the voters to make their voices heard and say no. And, people, the left, gets all up in arms about all of this stuff. But, really, this is what you want. You want your states, meaning the people, to have the control of what happens in their state. That is the way it is intended. Yeah. It was intended to be. So whatever it is that you want, whether it's gay marriage or the right to marry gay, I don't know, whatever, gay marriage, or whatever the case is, abortion, whatever the case is, whatever your opinion or feeling is, go make it known by your vote. I mean, that's the way it goes. And then, of course, people like Gretchen need to be just kicked out of there. I was going to swear.
Yeah. Listen, veto power, I get. Okay, the president's got veto power. Governors have veto power, right? And that's all part of checks and balances within the system. And okay, fine. But when you've got a governor who has made it very clear that no matter what, right? Because in the checks and balances, you have a veto, you have a way to override a veto.
Right.
She's made it pretty clear that even if she vetoes and then her veto is overridden, she's going to do nothing. She's going to oppose this in every way possible, probably up to and including obstructing the law because of her personal beliefs versus what the state, citizenry, is asking for. So right. I don't get this. I think we've lost, like you said, there's a sense of entitlement for a lot of these folks. We're seeing it in judges. Right. Yeah. There's appointed judges we talked about earlier. The sense of like, well, I can do this. I can, it doesn't matter what is good for the country, or it doesn't matter what, the constituency says. I'm going to do what I believe is right. And we saw that through COVID. The governors who had, the best interest of their people at heart. Kristi Noem is a prime example. They shut down nothing in South Dakota. Literally not a thing. And then you have the opposite, and you have New York, right? And we've got there's a whole bunch of dead people based on bad decisions by governors, right? Yes. And California, right? We have bad decisions by that governor on a daily basis. But they've lost the bubble on who they work for.
Yes,
that is the problem.
Yeah, and and what it'll come down to, I guess, really is shame on the voters, shame on the people if you don't make a big stink about this and get them out. I mean, to me, it's criminal. I don't know if I'm right or not. If it's criminal, it certainly sounds criminal to me. You're essentially ignoring the process of what we're founded on. But
yeah, there's a bit of a loss of decorum by our elected officials. Another transition. So Dan Crenshaw just the other day got caught on a hot mic, and he can defend this all he wants, but he's one of three recently that have lost decorum. He was a hot mic, so he wasn't necessarily publicly, but he threatened to kill Tucker Carlson.
Yes.
In a response to a question in an interview.
Right. We've got it. We can play it.
Play it.
Have you ever met Tucker?
We've talked a lot. I haven't made him a fun kill. He's the worst person.
Have you ever met Tucker?
We've talked a lot. I haven't made him a fun kill.
So I did purposely play it twice. So his part is very quiet because he's not mic'd at the moment.
Yeah.
But I've watched it multiple times. And, I of course, there's people say, oh, it's AI. It's AI. Not everything is AI. Everybody calm down.
It's not.
With the AI. No, I mean, that, it sounded pretty clear. And then he kind of goes a little further with it, saying he's the worst person in the world. And then Tucker, you got to love Tucker, whether you like Tucker or not. I like his I like his response. He was like, hey, you want my address? Here's my address. Come on over.
Yeah,
I love that.
It's a bad teenage movie. It's the bully, football player kind of guy, picking on the smart kid for telling the truth. Right. And that's really what it boils down to. Listen, Crenshaw's a rhino, straight up. And he's really shown his colors in the last 9 months.
Yeah, he has.
He's
got a history of losing his cool. saying crazy, aggressive stuff. You know, I mean, he does not have good self-control. That's probably the nicest thing I can come up with to say about him right now.
And he does, he uses his past service.
Yes.
Right. You know, I know, listen, everybody knows he was a Navy SEAL. Everybody knows he lost his eye in combat. That doesn't give him an excuse to act like an asshole.
No.
Sorry.
No, it doesn't.
Listen, I got my own time. I got both my eyes, but I got my own time. I got plenty of time in combat. And that doesn't give you the right to act like an asshole. And I'll tell you.
You're right. He does hide behind that. He uses that as a,
he tries. He uses, we refer to it as the vet pass, right? Like you can act however you want, but I'm a veteran and nobody's allowed to touch you. Well, I'll say it veteran to veteran, he's out of line. It's unprofessional, truthfully, not only as an elected official, but oh, by the way, Dan, go back to when you were a Navy officer, unprofessional in public to act like that. You can't hide behind the fact that you're a Navy SEAL. Sorry, pal. And oh, by the way, if you want to pick on somebody your own size. Come after somebody who's got a little bit more to him than Tucker, right? I mean, if you really want to be a badass, there's plenty of people out there that will step up and go toe to toe with you. I guarantee it. So stop being a bully and be a grown up. But he's not the only one, and that's the problem. I saw an interview with Jon Stewart and AOC the other day, right?
Oh, that one.
So it was a great interview because she essentially admitted that there's insider trading going on inside of Congress. She said it. And he applauded her for doing it because she was honest about it.
Yeah.
But also in the conversation, she forgets that she's an elected official or maybe she doesn't care, but she curses inside of the interview more than once. And it's like, where did the decorum go? I know she's trying to be cool and she's trying to be this and she's trying to be that, but she's in an interview that is going to be all over the internet and she can't maintain that level of professionalism that we expect out of our elected officials.
Yeah, and this is a pattern. This is widespread. You look at Fetterman and his shorts and hoodie all the time. You look at what's her name, Jasmine Crockett, is that her name?
Yeah,
dropping F-bombs. What do you think of who is Elon? What would you say to Elon? Right, and just
in public at a podium, like in front of a microphone, like at a rally, F Elon Musk,
It's like, are you kidding me right now? Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it is appalling, and I would like to see, obviously there are so many bigger issues going on and things that are in the works and being done, but I have to admit, I would like to see an order to that, to say from this point forward, you will, conduct yourself in a way that is representative of your station, of who you are and what you are. You're representing this country. You're on a world stage. This isn't your backyard. You're not sitting in your house or at some bar talking it up with your friends. You are a representative of the United States of America. Freaking act like one. I could swear if I want to, and I try not to even. You should not be swearing. You should be dressed appropriately. You should act appropriately. You should have some kind of code of conduct. I know there is a code of conduct.
While they are in chambers, that's the problem. They have
that
rules,
is the problem. You're right.
They have rules of decorum inside chambers. So there are certain things you can say and not say and processes and procedures. But once they step out, it used to be that politicians, for the most part, in public would honor the professionalism and the rules of decorum, right? Listen, LBJ, Lyndon Baines Johnson, was a notorious foul mouth, but he did it in private, right? He did it behind closed doors. And our politicians are not and never have been innocent. However, there is an appearance that needs to be maintained, right, for the American people. And oh, by the way, now more than ever, because the entirety of the world sees everything that we're doing. Right. They're not reading it in a newspaper. They're not, watching an edited clip on TV. They're getting it live. They're getting it on the internet. So if you can't represent yourself or your nation that way, you probably need to re-examine what you're doing.
Yeah. There needs to be a lot of firings, I think. I would like to see a lot of people either, whether it's impeached or fired or, I don't know, reprimanded at the very least for not respecting the role, not respecting the position, certainly for not respecting the president of the United States, I mean, all of those things. We just want to see, I think, I don't try and speak for other people often, but I think I can when I say we just want to see that accountability. We just want to see, the simple common sense, respectability, all of those natural, normal things that we shouldn't even have to be mentioning because they're so matter of course, but yet here we are. I think we all want to see that. You know?
I think my opinion is that the party leadership should be the ones taking the lead on this. Speaker Johnson should be calling Dan Crenshaw into his office today. Come on in, close the door, right? And then read him the riot act.
Right.
Period.
Yeah.
And that should be the end of it. Like Crenshaw should be on his best behavior for the rest of the time he's in office, which I have a sinking feeling is not going to be that long.
I don't think so.
So,
by the way, I find that whole Crenshaw thing disappointing. I really, initially in the beginning, I really liked him. I liked him so much. I thought he was going to be a really big deal, for the party and for the country, really. And wow, was I wrong? It's a shame.
Yep.
What a shame.
So, yeah, I would hope that those level of party leaders would be, but they won't. I don't know if Johnson will or not, but I know that nobody on the Democratic side is going to call AOC in and go, hey, clean up your mouth, because she's going to tell them no, and she's going to do whatever she wants. So if there aren't any repercussions, then it doesn't really matter.
Right. Well, you've got we're talking about a country where you have federal workers who are mad and refusing to tell essentially their boss, which is the president, 5 things that they did at work today. Like, you can't even get federal workers to do that willingly. So forget trying to get any of the higher up ones to do anything that they're supposed to do.
Yeah, we weren't going to talk about Doge, but there's a pretty visceral response to that whole thing. That I wrote a blog on it on Monday, and DOD's response, Secretary Exith was like, "Listen, we're not doing that." And the reason he said that is because DOD does it anyway. Like every unit and every sub-organization underneath Department of Defense sends up a weekly sit rep, a situation report. They send it up every week, and it's built from the bottom all the way up, and it goes into the people that it needs to go into. So he just looked at it and he said, we're not doing that. There's a couple of other departments within the government that said the same thing. We're not doing that. We don't work for OPM, and Elon has no influence over what we're doing. We're not doing that. And okay, fine. If you're already doing something like that, if you're doing it,
if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, then it's all good.
But there's so many people that have, just overreacted to this thing. The blog I wrote about was like, this is like, Office Space than the TPS report. It's the same reaction, and it's crazy. If you can't take, and Elon said it himself, 5 minutes, 5 bullets. That's it. That's all it takes. And the smart person will figure out, especially if they have a repetitive job, they will write the same 5 things down, and they will submit the same 5 things every week.
Right. That's all.
It's not that hard.
It's not that hard, people.
Unless, of course, you are the Postmaster General.
Ooh, that guy. Oh my goodness. So this is all right. So it's part comical. I couldn't help but laugh. I made a skit about it because it just the lunacy of it. So let's just show this. Let's just show our Postmaster General. So here's first just I think this is the picture. Let's see. So here he is covering his ears because he does not want to hear the questioning. And here's what happened.
You were graded by the United States people, and they don't use your service anymore. You bankrupt.
That is not true.
You bankrupt this through your reputation only. Through your reputation, you are responsible for the fall of the Postal Service and the lack of accountability.
Congress is responsible for the fall of the Postal Service.
So it's Congress.
I am trying to fix
on your
the
watch
Postal Service.
With all the AI.
Before my watch, the same stuff happened.
With all the AI, with all the computer systems, you're worse than if I took a horse and picked up the mail and delivered it 2 miles down the road.
So there's that. So now, mind you, this guy's been on the job for quite a while. So he's saying he's trying to fix it. He's been there. He's been trying to fix it. Well, last year they reported $9.5 billion with a B dollars in net losses for 2024. So that includes pension contributions for its retirees and workers' compensation claims for employees injured on the job. You've got an 80% decrease in volume of outgoing mail, but but he added 190,000 employees. Make it make sense, right?
Yeah.
Make it make sense.
So it's, everybody knows with email, right? Email covers that. That's where the 80% decrease in outgoing mail comes from. Email, electronic bill pay, technology is doing the work of the Postal Service, right? The problem is that we are reaching that point of the peak of employment, which was in the 70s and into the 80s, right, of the Postal Service. And now those folks who were hired back then, for those that don't know, if you work at the Postal Service, there is no use or lose vacation or sick time. So if you don't use your vacation, it continues to accrue for your entire career. I know of multiple people personally who worked 35, 40 years at the post office, said, I'm retiring, and they had 12 or 13 months of paid vacation or sick time that they just didn't work. They took it all at the end. They stayed fully paid for 12 to 13 months before they took their pension. So somebody's got to do that job, right?
Right.
And so, now you've got, and I don't know what the percentage is, but any good organization has an overage to cover for vacations, to cover for sick, to cover for, right? So say it's a 10%. Now you're incurring that load of personnel for a year. And this is not uncommon, folks.
Yeah.
So, any business that loses $9.5 billion in a year is out of business.
Yeah.
It's
out of business. You're done. You're done. And you're out of a job if you're the guy or woman who's supposed to be in charge of making that operation run efficiently and well. I mean, this is, probably one of the greatest examples of horrific, unchecked mismanagement. Poor management, zero management. And then, the arrogance and the audacity to cover your ears. Are you kidding me?
What a child. Jeez,
right? I mean, that was actually kind of shocking. Like, I can't believe that I am witnessing a grown man covering his ears because he doesn't want to hear. It's just crazy to me. Again, you see, this is why I find things to laugh about, because if I don't laugh, it's going to make me crazy, Clay.
Yeah. And you said it, it's horrible management. It's the worst kind of leadership.
Yeah.
But at the same time, these are the things that the general public doesn't know about. Right. And they look at, and when they find out, they're appalled. But at the same time, you are going to have, because they're going to start closing down things in the post office. You're going to see post offices close. You're going to see postal carriers that are going to get, let go, get fired. Like, they're going to shrink the post office as a result of this. And you are going to have all kinds of people that are going to be screaming and yelling that we need the post office. We can't shrink the post office. I know people who are postal carriers. What are they supposed to do for a job? Listen, I hate it for them. I do.
Yes.
But this is the reason why we are trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars in debt, is because of stupid crap like this. This is inexcusable. But this is what the president ran on, and this is what he's been doing for the 5 weeks he's been in office, right?
Yes.
This isn't even Doge, right? This is just this is out in the open how bad this is being run.
Yeah, this is a matter of, like you said, President Trump doing exactly what he said he was going to do. He's going to root out all of the, misappropriations, the misuse, the fraud, the, wasteful spending, all of the things to make America great again. Give us our money back, put it back in our pockets, stop bleeding us dry. All of the things that he promised is exactly what he's doing. So to act shocked and get mad because it's happening, and I agree with you. Yes, of course. I feel bad for anybody who is facing the loss of their job. That's terrifying especially when you have a family, all of the things in life. But, just like he did with the other federal employees, I'm sure they're going to get quite a bit of notice. And, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, this is really about the good of the entire country. And if you want to be angry at anyone, be angry at the previous administrations, and I add an S to the end of that.
Yeah.
The previous administrations for allowing this to happen, to get to this point where it has to be so drastic and so, shocking and just like to gut everything, because on everybody else's watch, it was allowed to just keep snowballing and snowballing and snowballing and here we are, trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars in debt. The things that they're finding, it is just shocking, appalling. So it is what it is. And you got my sympathy, but not as much as not enough to want it to stop. That's for sure.
Yeah, you said it, plural administrations. I keep going back to 1992. Right. Because I think that a lot of this started with President Clinton and his administration, and it's been snowballed since then. So, if you've been, no matter which party you're supporting, like they're both guilty. There is administrations on both sides of the aisle that are responsible. During the war was part of it. I know that, big gov as a concept is the reason we are where we are now. So if you've been voting for that and supporting it, you own part of this. And I can't say that enough. It's I feel bad for people too. I'm tired of listening to people say, oh, what about so-and-so? My friend this. Okay, who did you vote for? Who have you been voting for? Right? Yeah. Have you been voting? Have you been holding your elected officials accountable? No. And it's the apathy that you talked about earlier. And that's kind of where we're at. But now we've got an active insurgency inside of our own government, right? And as President Trump is, again, honoring a campaign promise to clean out, illegal aliens, now we've got an insurgency in some of these blue states and blue cities that are putting our law enforcement at risk.
Yeah. This is infuriating, absolutely infuriating. So you have let's see, well, of course you have cities like Boston and San Diego who are like reaffirming their commitment to their sanctuary policies, or like doubling down on it. You've got people like AOC who are giving out instructions how to to avoid ICE or to not get detained. I forget exactly what. Some cases where they're complying, not nearly enough, but I'm reading my notes, as you can tell. Let's see, there was one I wanted to find for you. Oh, this was the one. So this is in, surprise, surprise, Los Angeles.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Actively disrupting ICE operations by posting flyers that reveal the names and personal information of ICE agents, including, their photos and phone numbers. So they're doxing them. And putting them, like you said, Clay, at risk, in risk of harm, Wow, is all I can say. And that you've got these, idiot politicians that are fueling this and that are feeding this information, because where else are they going to get it, really? They call it activist interference, but a lot of these politicians, they're activists disguised as politicians. Right?
It's an insurgency. That's what this is. This is an insurgency, and they're putting our law enforcement at risk because of a difference of opinion on whether or not specific laws should be enforced. Right. Whether you like it or not, folks, if someone is here illegally, they are a criminal. Okay. Period, over and out. Yep. So our law enforcement are tasked to enforce the law. President Trump has made this a priority. He ran on it. That's what the American public voted for. It's been a mandate. And our law enforcement officers that everybody defended when they raided Mar-a-Lago, right? Everybody defended them. Now we've got law enforcement agents enforcing the law, and they're getting thrown under the bus. And truthfully, their lives are being put at risk because people disagree with what they're doing. Yep. This is an insurgency. Thankfully, and I say this with all shock, there are cities like Chicago that are actually turning against their politicians. So the mayor of Chicago, I could not believe this the other day. The mayor of Chicago has and I don't know which is worse, an 80% disapproval rating.
Did you say 80%?
80% disapproval rating, or only a 7% approval rating. Like, I don't know which one of those is worse, but that's where he's sitting. Okay. Yeah. Wow. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that public programs are being cut that normally go to the residents of the city, but those programs are being cut to benefit illegal aliens, the sanctuary city prospect, and all of these other things. But so you've got at least one city out there that said, we're done with this crap. And they're turning against it. So kudos to Chicago and the residents there for turning against the mayor, who is a piece of trash. He's got a lot of problems, but this is one of the big issues. But everywhere else, you said it, Los Angeles, San Diego, Boston, that lady's a lunatic.
Lunatic.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's all bad. And
Maine, different set of circumstances, different case, but just another example of these, Democrat politicians believing that they don't have to follow the laws. Like,
Exactly.
crazy, and they don't have to follow what their voters are telling them to do.
Right.
And their comeuppance.
That's
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
will come. It will come. It will happen. Boy, that was a hard one for me to say. Yeah. Holy cow. It's just, it's wild. It's wild. And, I think, again, having the nerve to speak for more people, we expect to see some consequences for this. There has to be consequence for this. This isn't, witch hunt. This isn't retribution for what Trump, this is just common sense. If you're breaking the law, if you're, ignoring the laws of the land, if you're ignoring your voters, what they are telling you to do, you're out, you're gone. So, you know.
And that is a theme right now across social media. And I think there's a little bit of patience that needs to be, taken in some of this, but there's been an overwhelming, that sentiment has been overwhelmingly out there. And that is, we want to see people held accountable, whether it's the Epstein list, whether it's Diddy, whether it's whatever it is, they want to see people held accountable. There's the whole nother topic, which we won't touch, but the chat rooms at the NSA, right? All of those people are going to get fired. There are people within the FBI that have been identified as leaking ICE information. They're going to be held accountable. That's already been put out. So, I know Kristi Noem and Tulsi Gabbard have been, kind of all over this stuff, and they're going to hold some folks accountable. Don't make mom mad. That's what's going on.
Yeah. You're right.
That's what everybody wants right now, is they want.
That's exactly what we wanted.
Because there's been no accountability.
Yeah. So to the answer to the age-old leftist question of the right these days is, I hope you're happy. Oh, I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled. I am ecstatic, and I want more. And, just we'll close out on the perfect example of how completely out of touch the leftist politicians are, angry at the right, for trying to save us money. And this guy is always the one always talking about fiscal responsibility. Look what he's doing.
I am once again asking for your financial support. I don't have to tell anybody that we're living in dangerous and unprecedented times. We are fighting now against the oligarchs, Elon Musk and the others, who are essentially running the government.
Yeah, I'll stop it right there. I'm once again asking you for money.
The socialist.
The
socialist is asking for more money. Now, Bernie's got 3 houses.
Yes, Bernie's a millionaire.
I don't see Bernie, putting one on the market and donating to his own cause.
Right. Like, so, Bernie, why are you asking people for money when you've got the money, you creep? Yeah. So there's your example of, the lunacy, the craziness. And I say it over and over again. I don't blame them. I blame the people who keep voting these people in. Shame on you.
Yep.
You get what you get, but you also inflict the rest of us with it. So how about stop it?
We made it through.
We made it through. I mean, I think did we hit everything?
I think we hit everything.
Oh my gosh, we're
unbelievably
amazing.
Yes.
I will toot our own horn and talk about how amazing we are. Oh my goodness. Yeah, that was a packed episode. Great topics, great job. Clay, I think I've told you this before, but Clay is the master of picking out our topics. He makes my life so easy. I am so grateful because my brain gets so overwhelmed by how many topics there are and things that we could talk about. He takes that off my plate. So I thank you. Great ones as always.
Yeah, another great. Listen, all I do is just I cherry pick because the internet keeps giving us all this gold, and we just work our way through it. So I just pick the fun ones and the ones that I know that you want to talk about and that I think our audience want to hear about. So that's what we do every week, and we appreciate everybody tuning in. And as always, for me, keep moving, keep shooting.
Take care, guys.
Combat veteran Terry Davis left a life of violence for the quiet Midwest prairie, but a terror threat pulls him back into action. In Tampa, he makes allies and enemies as the danger unfolds. Relying on his combat-honed skills, Terry faces a threat far bigger than he imagined, unsure of who to trust. One thing is certain, to survive, he must keep moving, keep shooting.
Welcome to Chance, the series you'll fall in love with. Picture a small town so warm and inviting, you'll wish it were real. That's Chance, a place where laughter echoes through quiet streets, and every neighbor feels like family. Elsa Kurt's 6-book series captures the soul of small-town life. Follow the lives of 5 families as they weather life's highs and lows, love blossoming, friendships forming, hearts breaking, and healing in unexpected ways. These stories will wrap you in comfort, spark joy, and tug at your heartstrings. Each page feels like a heartfelt embrace. Discover Chance today. Find the series and all of Elsa Kurt's books on Amazon and elsakurt.com.